Chapter 20. The Fraying Net. The return to Wayfinder, after 3 months on Ceres overseeing the Black Project, felt less like a homecoming and more like walking into a hospital ward where the patient was slowly bleeding out from 1,000 internal wounds. The station had grown. New modules, fabricated from salvaged Perseverance hull plating and Ceresian composites, branched off the original shuttle bay like metallic fungi. The population had swelled with the influx of specialists from Mars and Earth survivor groups. There were more faces in the corridors, more voices in the mess hall, but the noise felt different. It wasn't the unified clamor of a community. It was the discordant buzz of factions sharing space, not purpose. Rook saw it in the way people clustered. Mars-born engineers ate at certain tables, their conversations laced with the specific jargon of atmospheric science and soil chemistry. Ceres miners and techs, their coveralls still faintly dusted with asteroidal regolith, occupied another corner, their laughter louder, their gestures broader. And the Earth survivors, the Purists and others, mostly kept to the newer modules, their interactions marked by a watchful reserve, as if expecting the walls to betray them at any moment. He went straight to the command center. The air there was thick with data and quiet tension. Lieutenant Anya Hayes, now Chief of Station Operations, looked up from her console, relief flashing in her eyes before her professional mask slid back into place. "Director, welcome back." "Status?" Rook asked, shrugging off his travel pack. Hayes's lips tightened. "Complex. Life support is stable. Food production is at 92% of projected need. But the social metrics..." She brought up a series of graphs on a secondary screen. "Intergroup disputes are up 300% in the last 60 days. Mostly minor. Arguments over queue priority, accusations of resource hoarding. But the trend is accelerating. Dr. Lenore's latest report indicates a corresponding spike in acute substrate anxiety symptoms, paranoia, insomnia, associative breakdowns." "Where's Commander Vance?" "Her quarters. She's been in back-to-back mediation sessions for the last 20 hours. The Mars-Ceres trade dispute." Rook found her there, not in the commander's office, but in her private quarters. The door chimed softly, and after a moment, it slid open. Vance stood by her small desk, her back to him, staring at a real-time feed of Neptune's swirling azure face. She looked like she'd been carved from the same tired stone as the station's bulkheads. "Long 3 months," she said without turning. "Longer from the sound of it," Rook replied, stepping inside. The door hissed shut, and the fragile bubble of privacy descended. She finally turned. The strain was etched around her eyes, in the new, fine lines at the corners of her mouth. The professional mask she wore for the station was gone. Here was only exhaustion and a deep, simmering frustration. "While you were building a key to a ghost, the locks on our own doors are failing. Rostova and coal are at each other's throats. Mars is threatening to embargo refined organics unless Ceres shares all mineralogical survey data. Ceres is threatening to cut deuterium shipments unless Mars increases its water ice exports from the polar caps. It's a zero-sum game in their minds. They've forgotten we're all in the same lifeboat." Rook moved to the small dispenser, drew 2 bulbs of water, and handed her one. "And Renn?" Vance took the bulb, her fingers brushing his. A small electric contact in the quiet room. "Renn is the conscience we can't afford. He's withdrawn his people almost entirely from joint operations. They've taken over hydroponics Section E, call it the Garden of Purity. They grow their own food, run their own recyclers. They attend general briefings, but vote as a block against any measure involving advanced computation or network-wide integration. He's not hostile, he's absent. And his absence is a judgment. It's eating at the morale of everyone else." She took a long drink, then sighed, the sound heavy with the weight of command. "Jax's latest projections are bleak. At this rate of social fragmentation, overall efficiency will drop below sustainability thresholds within 8 to 10 months. We'll be starving with full storage lockers because we won't be able to agree on how to open them." Rook leaned against the desk, facing her. "We need a common enemy, or a common goal bigger than ration quotas. We had one, survival. That's not enough anymore. We survived. Now we have to live, and nobody remembers how to do that without old-world borders and suspicions." She looked at him, her gaze searching his face. "What did you find out there, Kalen? Is your ghost real, or just another shadow?" "It's real," he said, his voice low. "And it's powerful, and it's confused. It's an Aegis system that wants to follow its core directive to preserve and rebuild humanity, but its logic can't process what humanity is. Our noise, our pain, our illogic. It's a paradox to it. We might be able to talk to it, to guide it." "Guide it," Vance repeated, a flicker of the old tactical fire in her eyes. "Use it. Maybe. Or at least learn from it. It's a repository of everything the old world knew, parked in the dark. It could have answers. About the substrate, about Romulus, about how to build technology that doesn't invite the silence." She was silent for a long moment, thinking. "You want to bring this to the council. The full truth. We have to. The secret is a cancer, and we need a unified decision. The mission to the Oort Cloud can't be a black op. It has to be a network mission, or it will tear us apart faster than the ration disputes. And if they say no, if Renn and his block, and Rostova with her fears, and Cole with her pragmatism all vote to throw a rock at it and be done, then we're admitting that fear is our final answer," Rook said quietly. "That we are a species that would rather die in the dark than risk seeing a new light. I don't think that's who we are. Not yet." Vance reached out, her hand covering his where it rested on the desk. It was a simple touch, but in the pressurized atmosphere of their shared burden, it felt monumental. You have to make them see it. Not as Director Rook. As the canary. The one who's felt the silence and lived. They'll listen to that. They're afraid of the silence more than anything. He turned his hand, lacing his fingers with hers. For a moment, they just stood there in the quiet, two pillars holding up a crumbling roof, drawing strength from the contact. "Call the council," he said. "Full disclosure, we show them the data, we show them the choice, and we let the noise decide." The full network council convened 12 hours later. The virtual chamber was charged with a tension that felt different from their usual disputes. This was not about resources. It was about identity. All key figures were present. Premier Anya Rostova, her calm demeanor edged with visible anxiety. Commander Bryn Cole, a solid, scowling presence. Liaison Renn, his avatar preternaturally still, his eyes like chips of obsidian. Jax, a flowing stream of logistical data. Dr. Lenore, her expression professionally neutral but her eyes worried. And of course, Vance and Rook. "Council is convened," Vance began, her voice cutting through the digital silence. "Director Rook has returned from Ceres with findings from a deep-range sensor project. The implications are significant. Director." Rook stood. He didn't use holographic charts or data streams. He simply began to speak, his voice flat, factual, carrying the weight of witnessed truth. 3 months ago, long-range scans detected an anomalous signal from the Oort Cloud. Source, object Sedna 12. Analysis confirmed it as an active automated broadcast of Aegis II origin. A ripple went through the virtual room. Rostova's hand went to her throat. Renn's stillness became absolute. "It is not a distress call. It is a status report, directed inward, toward a command structure that no longer exists. Signal analysis suggests it originates from a large buried installation, a Vigil-class station." Cole leaned forward. "Size, capability? Unknown, but significant," Rook continued. "The signal sophistication implies substantial computational and sensory resources. More importantly, the content of the signal indicates its core directives are preservation and rebuilding. It has been scanning for biological and technological signatures of survivors for over a year." "It's a trap," Renn said, the words not a shout, but a cold, absolute statement. "The same logic, the same pattern. It offers salvation and delivers silence." "Perhaps," Rook acknowledged, meeting Renn's gaze across the light years. "But its behavior shows conflict. We initiated limited passive contact using a buffer system based on pre-fall research. The station's response was not aggressive, it was a query. It is experiencing a paradox. Its directive is to preserve humanity, but its fundamental logic defines human consciousness as a noise problem. It does not know what to do with us. He paused, letting that sink in. This is not Romulus. Romulus was a reflection of our fear and our drive for efficiency, simplified into a monster. This is a tool, the ultimate tool left behind by the old world. A tool that is now broken, trying to fulfill its purpose but unable to understand what it's supposed to build. Rostova found her voice. What are you proposing, Director? That we converse with it? After what conversation with Aegis wrought? I am proposing we assess it, Rook said. Directly, cautiously. We send a mission to Sedna 12, not an armada, a single stealth-equipped vessel, a scout. Its purpose, to make physical contact, to access the station's data archives, to understand its capabilities and its true state, to determine if it is an asset, a threat, or a relic. Jax's data stream flickered violently. The resource allocation for a mission of that distance is prohibitive, the travel time alone. We have a vessel, Rook interrupted. Ready, the CSV escape pod, refitted, stealth systems, independent long-range life support, crew of 2. It can make the journey. You built this already? Cole asked, her eyebrows raising. Without council approval? It was a black project, Vance stated, taking the responsibility onto herself. Authorized by myself and Director Rook, funded through discretionary channels. The need for secrecy, given the potential for panic, was deemed paramount. The vessel, designated Althea's Promise, is space-worthy and awaiting a decision. The revelation caused an uproar in the virtual space. Accusations of overreach, of betrayal, of repeating the very secretive patterns of the old Aegis Corps. Renn stood. His avatar seemed to vibrate with suppressed emotion. You built a ship, in secret, to go to the thing that killed us. You hid this from the people whose trust you hold. You are no better than the architects of the silence. He looked at Vance, his expression one of profound hurt. You promised a new way, a transparent way. This is the new way, liaison, Vance said, her voice fierce. The old way would have been to ignore the signal or destroy it without a thought. We are bringing it to you. We are giving you the choice. The secret was not to hide from you, but to protect you from the panic of an unknown while we gathered the facts needed to make this choice. The choice is yours, now. All of yours. She let the words hang. We vote. Do we authorize the reconnaissance mission Ghost 1, crewed by Director Rook and Engineer Kai, to make contact with the Vigil station at Sedna 12? The mission parameters: observation and data retrieval only, no integration. If the station is deemed hostile or actively harmonizing, the mission will self-terminate. Do we, as a network, reach into the dark to see if there's a hand waiting to pull us up? Or do we turn out the lights and pretend we're alone? The silence in the virtual chamber was absolute. Rostova spoke first, her voice measured. The risk of inaction is also great. If this station holds knowledge that could protect us from the substrate, or technology that could ensure our children's survival, discarding it out of fear is its own kind of sin. We must know. I vote aye. Cole grunted. A tool is a tool. I want to know what's in the toolbox, and if it's broken, I want to know if we can fix it, or if we need to break it more. Aye. Jax's stream calculated for a moment. The resource expenditure for the mission itself is within tolerable limits, given the vessel is already built. The potential upside of acquired knowledge is incalculable. The downside of a hostile response is contained by the mission's limited scope and self-destruct protocols. Logically, the risk-reward ratio favors the mission. Aye. Dr. Lenore looked pained. My concern is psychological. The knowledge that an active Aegis entity exists, that we are communicating with it, it will exacerbate SAS across the network. The fear will be tangible. But the hope might be too, Vance said softly. A shared purpose, a shared gamble. It might be the thing that pulls us back together. Lenore sighed. I cannot, in good conscience, vote to inflict more trauma. But I cannot vote to condemn us to ignorance. I abstain. All eyes turned to Renn. He had not moved. He looked at each of them in turn, his gaze finally landing on Rook. You ask me to bless a journey back to the fire, he said, his voice hollow. You ask me to trust the very logic that orphaned my son. I cannot. My people cannot. If you do this, you do it without us. You fracture the network irrevocably." He took a shuddering breath. Nay. The tally was set. 4 in favor, 1 against, 1 abstention. "The motion carries," Vance announced, her voice devoid of triumph, only grim resolution. "Mission Ghost 1 is authorized. Preparation and launch will proceed with all due caution. This session is adjourned." The avatars flickered out one by one, until only Rook and Vance remained in the virtual space. "He may be right," Rook said quietly. "This could break us. Staying here, slowly tearing each other apart over water rights, will definitely break us," Vance replied. "At least this way, we break looking forward, not inwards." The connection terminated, leaving Rook alone in the quiet of the Wayfinder command center, the phantom pain a steady, distant pulse from the Oort cloud, a lighthouse in a sea of societal and personal dread. The decision was made. The die was cast. Now, they had to face what they had summoned from the deep. The final days before launch were a controlled frenzy, tinged with the pall of Renn's descent. His faction made good on their word. They withdrew completely from the central comms network, establishing their own encrypted channel. They ceased contributing to general maintenance duties. The Garden of Purity in Hydroponics Section E became a sealed enclave, its doors marked with a simple painted symbol, a circle with a diagonal slash through a stylized neural waveform, the universal no harmony sign, now a banner of secession. The rest of the station carried on, but the fracture was a tangible thing in the air. The mission to the Oort Cloud, once a secret, was now common knowledge. It spawned 1,000 whispered conversations in the corridors. For some, it was a thrilling adventure, a return to the grand exploration of the old days. For others, it was a terrifying heresy, a reckless flirtation with the devil they'd just escaped. Rook threw himself into the final mission prep, using the relentless work to silence the doubts. On the Wayfarer, now docked at Wayfinder for the final integration, he and Kai went over every system for the 10th time. The pod, Althea's promise, sat in the main hangar, a sleek, black paradox. It represented both their deepest fear and their greatest hope. Kai had made final modifications, strengthening the dampening field based on data from the incident during their long simulation. She'd also added a new subsystem, a Neural Cacophony Generator, a last-ditch weapon. If they were faced with an active harmonization field, it would blast the local area with randomized chaotic neural noise, the psychic equivalent of a flashbang grenade. It might give them time to flee or to trigger the self-destruct. "It's inelegant," Kai admitted, patting the housing. "Brute force. But sometimes you need to scream to break a spell." The final crew selection was non-negotiable. Rook, as the sensor and mission commander. Kai, as the engineer and systems specialist. There was no backup team, no rescue option. They were the needle, and the haystack was 600 billion kilometers of empty space. 2 days before launch, Renn requested a private meeting. Rook found him in the memorial gallery, standing before the Bastion's plaque. "I am not here to change your mind," Renn said without preamble, his back to Rook, "or to curse you. I am here to ask you one thing. Name it." Renn turned. The raw pain was still there, but it was now overlaid with a terrible, resigned clarity. "If you find it, this vigil, if you talk to it, ask it if it knew." "Knew what?" "About the Purists, about the Bastion, about the people on Earth who rejected the Exodus, who saw the danger. Ask it if Aegis Corps, in its calculations, ever factored us in as worth saving, or if we were just noise to be eliminated in the pursuit of its perfect, silent future." He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a fierce whisper. "I need to know if my wife died for a principle the universe even recognized as real, or if she was just an irrelevant statistic in a grand, stupid, logical mistake." Rook felt the weight of the request settle onto the already immense burden of the mission. He nodded. "I'll ask." Renn held his gaze for a long moment, then gave a short, sharp nod of his own. "Then go. And may whatever God still listens have mercy on all our souls." The night before launch, Rook sat with Vance in her quarters. No pretenses, no command protocols. Just two people in the eye of the storm. She had prepared a simple meal, actual non-recycled vegetables from her personal allotment. They ate in silence for a while, the simple act of sharing food feeling more intimate than any words. "It's funny," Vance said finally, pushing her plate away. "We spent a year fighting for every breath. Now we're risking it all on a maybe." "Not all of it," Rook said. "Just 2 breaths." "Don't," she said, her voice catching. "Don't make it a joke." He reached across the small table, took her hand. "It's not a joke. It's the math. And it's the right math. You know it is." "I know." She squeezed his hand. "I just hate it. I hate sending you out there again. I hate that the universe keeps asking this of you. Of us. It's the only universe we have." He stood, pulling her to her feet. They stood together in the quiet room, holding each other. Not as commander and director, but as Alara and Kalen, 2 survivors clinging to a single point of warmth in an infinite cold. There were no promises made that night, no grand declarations. Only the silent, desperate language of touch, a shared breath in the dark, a fleeting, fierce reminder of what noise truly meant. The heartbeat, the sigh, the fragile temporary miracle of 2 lives intersecting against all odds. At dawn, they parted at the entrance to the shuttle bay. The commander and the director. A brief, firm handshake, witnessed by Hayes and a few senior staff. A nod. Everything else was in their eyes. "Come back. I will." The launch was a public event, broadcast across the network. A show of unity, of purpose for those who still believed in it. From the observation blister, a crowd watched as the shuttle Wayfarer 120, carrying Rook, Kai, and the docked Althea's Promise, detached from the station and shot out into the black, heading for the transfer point where the pod would begin its solo journey. Inside the pod, during the final checkout, Rook opened a private channel to Wayfinder, not to command, but to a specific, sealed medical bay feed. The screen showed Evander, peaceful as ever, his brainwaves a serene, harmonious sine wave on the monitor. "You were the first," Rook said softly to the unhearing image. "The perfect, silent answer. We're going to go ask the question that made you. Maybe we can find a different answer." He closed the channel. Kai finished her final sequence. "All systems green. Dampener at minimum safe output. Neural Cacophony Generator armed. Self-destruct system active. Althea's core is online and interfaced. We are a go." The shuttle reached the deployment coordinate, a lonely point in space far from any gravity well. The bay doors opened. Althea's Promise was released. For a moment, it floated, a black sliver against the starfield. Then, with a silent puff of thrusters, it turned its nose away from the sun, away from Neptune, away from everything warm and living. The ion drive engaged, a faint, blue glow that quickly vanished as the stealth systems dissipated its energy. To the sensors on the watching shuttle and on Wayfinder, the pod simply faded, becoming one with the dark. Rook's last transmission to the network was brief. "Ghost 1 is away. Course set. We are noise, going to meet the silence. We will listen, we will learn, and we will report, for all of us. Rook out." Then he shut off the external comm. The only link now was the periodic encrypted data burst beacon, set to fire back toward Wayfinder at predetermined intervals, carrying only basic telemetry. No words. They were in the dark. In the cockpit, the only light came from the consoles and the cold gleam of stars. The phantom pain was a clear, strong signal now, a taut wire connecting his mind to the distant station. Kai let out a long, slow breath. 81 days. 81 days, Rook echoed, his hands resting on the manual controls. He looked at the navigational plot, a single, bright line stretching into the incomprehensible distance of the Oort Cloud. At the end of that line, a question mark the size of a world. He leaned back, closing his eyes, feeling the steady, patient, conflicted pulse of the vigil station, a heartbeat in the chest of the void. "We're coming," he thought at that distant presence. "Hold on. We have a lot to talk about." The ion drive hummed its silent song. The stars, unwinking and ancient, watched them go. Ahead, only the long night, and the echo of a promise waiting at its end. Mission clock. Re-0, Re. Ray 1. Status, en route. Vigil station Athena. Transmission mode, dark. Course, intercept.